Hey y'all, I'm Ralper, and welcome to Skyrim Scripting. This is the part of the series where we are learning SKSE or Skyrim Script Extender development in C++. And in this episode, we're going to learn how to listen for and respond to different events in the game. Whenever the player hits hot in the nose, or opens up a door, or a quest advances a stage, maybe someone casts a spell, or a certain magical effect starts to apply. Maybe a UI menu opens or closes, or you want to know when the player types a key or clicks the mouse button. These are all different examples of events that we can track in the game and you can respond to in your SKSE plugin. So let's get started. Like all of the other episodes so far, I have an example of some of the code at github.com/skyrimscripting/skse_templates. Actually, with or without the underscore will work. You can click on game events here and poke around and see some of the examples of what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to take the write to log file though one. I'm just going to set up a simple SKSE plugin that has a log file set up so that we can, in this episode, listen for a bunch of events, and whenever they happen, I'm just going to write stuff to a log file. So let me open up this example, because it'd be kind of cheating to look at the end result, wouldn't it be? Okay, while this loads up, let's change the name of it in the CMake list file. I'm going to call this one Game Event Fun Times. Save. Let me wait for CMake to do its magic. Okay, I think it is all done. Well, some stuff is indexing in the background, so I can hear my computer, but that's okay. Here is our plugin. Here we've used this in a couple episodes now. We're just going to get rid of all the stuff about logging that are just some logging examples that we don't care about. And here is the core template for our plugin. It just writes some logs for whatever we want. So how do we start listening for these events? Well, we are going to learn more than we want to know about event sources and event sinks. Now, if you're coming from Papyrus, the very first time you write one of these, it's going to look terrifying, and it's okay. It's really easy. You'll get over it, and you can copy and paste some of the code to get started. So what I highly recommend we actually start with is Common Lib. So the Common Lib library, if you haven't already downloaded it, which we looked at in the episode on game objects, I recommended that, but now is definitely the time. If you haven't downloaded Common Lib, based on whatever version you're using, so Common Lib NG is what I've been using so far, but Power of Threes, whatever, go to code download. We're going to download this. And you're going to want to open it up in an editor. In particular, even if you're using another editor, I actually recommend you open this up in Visual Studio Code, just because Visual Studio Code is a really lovely tool for browsing around and quickly searching through code. Why am I starting off with this? Well, I said that we're going to learn more than we want to know about event sinks and event sources. Now, Common Lib provides a wide array of event sources, presumably all hooked into the game, where the game has these events. And an event source will emit events, and we can listen to events from that source. If I Control-Shift-F, or if I go to Edit, Find in Files, event source, all one word. Let's get rid of the offsets one. Let's actually do something a little bit more specific that might not make a ton of sense to you yet. But I'm going to say this. Public space BST event source. This has 79 results in 18 files. And these, ladies and jelly spoons, are basically all of the sources of events in the game. If you want to listen for a music event, a footstep, whenever a save or load happens, user events, I'm actually pretty curious about these. I haven't used a number of these. The script event source holder has the vast majority of them. These you'll be very familiar with if you've used Papyrus. They're things like hit events, sleep events. We can also get spellcast events, all kinds of bajillions of events. Here's UI events for menu opening and closing. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like to use an event source and listen to some of the events that come from that source by going back into our plugin. And the most popular event source is the script one. What was it? In Common Lab, there's the script event source holder. So if we look here in Common Lab in there's a script event source holder. And if we colon on it, we can get a singleton. For all of these different sources, you're going to want to get a singleton, the actual representation of that object, which we can listen to events from. It emits events. So let's just say auto, without the star to start with, event source holder is what it's called. And it tells me that it gives me a script event source holder star. So I'll add my little star here. And now this event source holder, if I hit dot on it, near the top, it has add event sync and remove event sync. Now, event sync is a language I'm familiar with from like logging and things like that. You can set up kind of a sync, set up a place to send an event or a log of some kind. So what we do is we make multiple syncs. These are just callbacks essentially, where each one of them will be called with the event whenever the event occurs. So you can have, whenever someone dies, you could have 100 different plugins all listening for when a death event happens. So we need to add an event sync, and it's an event sync of a certain type, and you get a pointer to it. That's what we need to give this thing. Well, we don't have that. How do we make one? Well, it's not like the cleanest. I hope we'll, in the coming year, have something a little bit more. We'll see. Anyway, what we do is we make an event sync, and that needs to be a class. Now, one class can support multiple events. Through C++'s multiple inheritance, we just need to call it, what do we don't want to listen for first? How about hit events? I might regret that because that's kind of annoying to test for. We have to run in the game and actually hit people, but whatever. How about, I don't know, our event sync. We'll listen to our event sync. And we'll start to add multiple events that it can listen to. And so, public bst event sync. And hit enter. And now we have to specify the type of event. This is another place where it's great to have Common Lab open. Now, here's all kinds of events. A lot of them start with tests, but not all of them. One handy dandy trick is you can just control P and just type test event, and you'll see a lot of them. Not all of them, so gotta be careful with that. There's a hit event. So there's a retest hit event. Hit event. And it looks like a hit event has the target, the source of it, if there's a projectile, whether it's sneak, bash, whatever attack, yada, 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 all kinds of stuff. So we want retest hit event. and then curly curly. And now after classes, don't forget this or your code just won't compile and you'll be so sad and not understand why. You have to put a semicolon. I don't know any other languages where that's the case. Maybe in C and stuff, but not very common. So now, maybe just to make your life a little bit easier, let's say struct. You don't have to remember to make things public. I think it'll work with the struct. Now what we're going to say is, let's make an event sync. We'll just make a new one. We'll make a new instance of one down here. So we've got our auto event sync event source holder. Let's say auto event sync equals our event sync, parentheses. Now this is going to make an event sync. It's going to put it, abstract, we'll get to that, on a thing called the stack. We're going to say new our event sync, and some people at home are going to hate what I show y'all to do, but it's going to work really well for this first episode, introducing people to stuff. All right, well, this is really angry because we haven't implemented a function that we're required to implement whenever you inherit from a BST event sync. That's what this is. You don't have to understand that at all. What you do have to understand is we need a function here called process event. These aren't actually, this isn't how it looks. Instead of void, it returns a BST, or BS rather, BS event notify control. That's fun. And the process event function is for a specific type of event. So for us, it's going to be for a hit event. So go ahead and just copy and paste retest hit event. We're going to use it twice. First, when we say this function gives us the event actually itself, and it's going to be a constant pointer to the event. Const space test event pointer, and then just type event. That's going to be the parameter name. But then process event also gets the source itself. It actually gets the source, the event source. Gives you an opportunity to do something at the event like unregister yourself. So say, hey, I'm done. Please stop sending me these events. So let's, you have to say re BST event source. Now we're going to paste again. And then it's a pointer. And this is the source. Here's what we end up with. It's quite a mouthful. A function that returns a notify control. Don't worry, notify control is just an enum, and it basically looks like this. You're always going to just do BS event notify control K continue. So this is what everything looks like. Returns this. Process event takes two parameters. The event, which is a constant version of this event, which is a pointer to it, and an event source. Just like we've got the event sync here, we get the source that is sending the sync the event. And it has this templated parameter called test hit event, whatever the event is. It's also a pointer towards it. And you can do stuff with the source. So for example, source dot, you can remove the event sync. And we could literally remove ourselves if we wanted to. Let me zoom out. But we're not going to do that, so I'm just going to delete where it says source. That's something you can do in C++. You just don't give the parameter a name. The parameter is still there so that everything works, but we're not going to use source, so we can just delete where it says source. What we care about here is event. We hit event dot. This has all the fun stuff. The source of the event is apparently a form identifier. The cause is going to be a reference the target is also a reference. So this hit this. And there may be a projectile involved. You can ignore padding fields. You're there for padding. I don't know. Anyway. And then there's this flags enumeration, which we'll look at. Of course, I had to pick one with flags. It's obnoxious, but what are you going to do? Okay, so we'll print out the hit events like logger, info. We should say person hit person or thing hit thingy. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's say auto target name equals event target. It's an object reference, so I'm going to get its base object and get its name. Hopefully there aren't instances where it's like null and so this will explode. Normally in production code I would test that, but we're playing. Source name equals event source. Get, is it source? Or is it cause? Cause. Get base object, get name. And we'll say source name hit target name. Okay, so that's going to happen whenever we process a hit event, where we is this instance of our event sync. And here's where we made an instance of event sync. It's no longer angry and at us for not implementing that process event function. And these yellow things just say that we haven't used either of these yet. So let's fix that. Let's say event source holder, add event sync, event sync. Now, do we need to specify? I've always specified the type of event that we're adding this for. Let's try it without. You might regret it. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And hopefully before the end, we'll talk about singletons a teeny little bit. Normally this little keyword right here, new, is something that folks in C++ try to avoid using, but it's fine for our purposes. Okay. Let's boot this puppy up as soon as this finishes. Got mod organizer 2 here. Totally ready to enable the mod. There we go. Let's refresh. Game event fun times. Let's start. And we should have a documents, my game, Skyrim special edition, game event fun times. If I go to my log expert, opening up on my other screen. Game event fun times, great. Should have just done activations to start with. Why'd I have to do hit events? Why? But they all follow the same formula, essentially. I do want to, in case things crash, I'm gonna hit F5. Skyrim. Now my debugger's attached, in case something blows up. I'd like to see where it blew up. We'll go over that in the debugger episode. Go to Riverwood and punch someone in the nose if it doesn't crash right away, but hopefully it shouldn't crash until we punch someone in the nose, and we want to punch hot in the nose. Boy, oh boy, do we want to punch hot in the nose. Boy, oh boy. We don't want survival, we want hot. Come here, buddy.
Did I see you talking to Sven?
You didn't see me talking to Sven. Oh, jeez. That looks heavy, dude. Hey, talk to me, dude.
I'm here for work. Get an axe. Bring me all the wood you can
I was gonna just punch him, but apparently I have this weapon. And I missed. Oh, that dude. Come on. I get.
You won't leave here alive.
Prisoner hit hard. Apparently I hit a lumber pile first. Bondal is now hitting me. Girder's hitting me. Bondal hit a lumber pile. Must have missed with the bow and arrow. And we're getting all kinds of hit here. Health is low. Oh, jeepers creepers. Let's hit people too. Oh, too late. We died. Okay, we've got hit events. Great. We could learn more about like what's going on in those hit events. Like for example, that flag. I need to remember how to work with this flag. Cheated. I did something that I highly recommend that you do and learn to do. I was like, there's these flag things, right? Like event has flags, so let's hit F12 on it. Takes us to these flags on hit event. Here's these flags right here, right? So let's see if anybody's checked these before. It says K sneak attack. And so I just went to github.com and put here and search all of GitHub. And then click on code. And now for some of these things, you'll end up with people who put Common Lib in their code. All of Common Lib. It's really frustrating. But eventually, if you look through, you'll find someone who actually did something with it. Here we go. So you can check if your event flags contain this flag. So if you want to know if it was a sneak attack or a power attack or something, we can say hit blocked, power attack, bash attack. Let's say if it's a power attack, logger info. Ooh, power attack. Cool. Okay. Let's see if we can handle a different event that is a script source event, and then we'll do yeah, here's a great one. Activation events. These are my favorites. One of my favorites. So we have we support this BST event sync retest hit event. Let's copy that whole thing. Add a comma and add the whole thing again. And now we're going to do test event what type. There's quest stages, there's sleeping. I like activations. Those are cool to show off. So activation event. Cool. Cool. Nice to have some spacing here. Of course, my formatter doesn't want the spacing. Oh, Kelly Dokely. So we're not supporting the process event for the activation event yet. So let's copy this, paste, and everywhere it says test hit event, I'm actually going to do this with code stuff. Test hit event. I'm going to turn it into test activate event. Okay. And now the event no longer has a target because test activate doesn't have a target. Event is a pointer to test activate event. So let's see what it has on it. Event dot. An object was activated by something. So auto activated name equals event. What was activated, get its name. And some of these events, some of these fields can be null pointers, and you will crash the game if you, unlike Papyrus, where if you try and do something on a null pointer, it'll just print out to the Papyrus log. Detour name. If you don't check for null here and you try and call something on a null, it will explode. Base object get name. Let's say logger info law activated blah. The activator, activated, deactivated. Cool. Save. I haven't, normally I use this when I add an event sync. I wonder if this will be okay if I do this and then test activate. There we go. There we go. So for each of the types of events, we're going to want to say add event sync. Now we can go into the game, we can check out activated, but if we go back into Common Lib, we'll see that while we are looking at events supported by the script event source holder, we were searching for BST event source, and BST event sources come in all shapes and sizes, and some of them are, there's stats, there's all kinds of things. There's footsteps, that'd be a bit much to keep track of. VR stuff, pretty cool. I'm super glad that that's there. Error logger, interesting. Cell attached stuff. Actor, cell events, and player position events. Jeepers creepers. I think the ones that tend to be most interesting are going to be a couple. One, if I type SKSE, SKSE has a couple of its own event sources. For camera events, action events, I don't know what those are offhand, I haven't used them yet. Crosshair reference events, those are dope. Mod callback events, those are for mod events, like SKSE mod events, although I think it only supports the ones that aren't with custom arguments. I don't know how to get the ones that have custom arguments. Let's do crosshair reference because it's pretty cool. And if we say that, we'll say there's add event sync, cool. And the event sync is a crosshair ref event. Those are cool because it's whenever your crosshair goes over something, whenever it changes, it'll trigger an event. It's pretty cool. Let me do Clang format. Make this a little bit more readable for y'all. There we go. I'm gonna keep doing that, but that's okay. Let's do comma, public, re. We're getting the habit of this, right? I know it looks terrifying, but it's not. It's fine. What one were we doing? Let's do crosshair ref. That one might come from SKSE. Crosshair ref event. Some of these come from SKSE rather than basically Common Lib. So for that one, let's try to copy and paste this whole thing. You could have different event syncs for the different events. I want to also get to input. Input is slightly different. There's like a pointer to a pointer or like a constant pointer. It's weird. Retest activate event. Cool. A little better. Event dot crosshair reference. Cool. Now that can be null. So we'll say if crosshair reference, then logger info crosshair is over blah. And we'll say the event crosshair reference get base object get name. So now we have both activation events and crosshair events. We'll have to register the crosshair ones. So here we go. Add event sync. Event sync. Really, we should what specifically just does crosshairs? I don't think you need to give it something like this. Save. Whatever person is watching this who's a C++ developer who's hating that I'm using new, I would love it if you would yourself make a YouTube episode teaching people how to do singletons. I will eventually, maybe. I don't know. There's only so much time in the universe, so don't be annoyed with me. Teach people yourself. Cool. Here's a bunch of people activating stuff. Change my highlighting. Let's say activated. We'll make it pink. And make everything else kind of default to white on black. Okay, it's all activations, it looks like, because nobody's hitting anyone. Oh, and because this thing popped open. Let's see, what did we do? We did references. So let's point the crosshair at that chicken. We won't crash. And then Sven and Hilda and a door. Crosshair reference over wooden door. Crosshair reference over Hilda. Crosshair reference over Sven. People are activating stuff. And then if I want to, I can hit this guy. And then there's a prisoner hit. If I want to, we could do crosshair here just to make it a little bit easier to keep track of which events are which. Green will be a crosshair. Cool, so those are crosshair events. And if you watch my rambling episode on Log Expert, you can learn how to use filters here and filter them to different tabs instead of having crazy colors. But so this is good. They're good, right? Oh, it said, ooh, power attack. Cool. Let's try a power attack. Oh, we did one. Let's do a non-power attack. And then a power attack. Okay, let's peace out. Great, 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 great. Okay. Now, all I want to show you is maybe another source or two, and then you're on your own. Can I show you singletons? Do I have my favorite singleton? No, I don't have it in my saved snippets. I need to fix that. All right, so we've got an SKSE one. We've got some event, some script event ones. I kind of want to show you ones that are likely to come up. One is UI ones, and one is input device ones. A little bit more gnarly. So these are SKSE ones. You could do the camera and mod events in a similar way. Script source, there's tons of these. UI, what you do is you say UI get singleton add event sync. And so there's some UI events. We can go to CommonLib, down to UI, and we'll see that there's menu mode change and there's menu open close. Menu open close is likely what folks care about. So let's do comma public re bst event sync re UI menu. How about it's just menu open close event, menu open close event instead of re UI menu open close event. No, where does it come from? Menu open close event. Where are you defined? Re menu open close event. Okay. Sure. There we go. Open close event. Great. Let's grab one of these puppies. And instead of SKSE crosshair ref event, I'm going to replace that with re menu open close event for this one. and close event. Great. And then we'll have event dot. It has the menu name and whether it's opening or not. So how about if opening, logger info open, and then the menu name, open menu, then menu name. Else we'll say you're closing the menu name, the menu. Looks like it's angry unless we do maybe menu open close event. Great, cool. Let's see if it compiles. Then we'll do input event while we're here. This one is input device manager. Get singleton. Add event sync. And here we want to do a re-input event. I don't know whether you need to pass that or not, but so let's handle an input event. Because people generally want to do stuff like keyboard shortcuts and whatever. I haven't used it much, but assuming the interface works the way that it looks like it works, you can get how long someone's been holding a key, all kinds of stuff like that for free, assuming that stuff works. If I say event dot, you can say get something as like a button event, and then from a button event, you can get the ID of the button, which is the DX scan code, but I wasn't able to get it working like this. The way I had to do it was, well, first of all, I have to put it up here. But it was one thing was slightly different. So if I do re-input event, it didn't work for me, and maybe it should, and maybe I was just doing it wrong. But when I couldn't get it working and I looked at other people online, I saw re-input event pointer. I don't know why this one's different than the others. And then I do re-input event pointer const pointer event, and then an input event pointer. And then what I do is I say, if not event, turn, but then I think that ever hit. I think what it was usually doing was if not, cool, let's have those. Oh, and when you return, you need to return continue. Just bear with me on this one. Now, let's say you've got an event, right? But you kind of don't. If you want the event, you have to say start event. So let's say event pointer. So if the event pointer like isn't there, then just continue. And I'm going to say auto event equals from the pointer. I want to get the event itself. And so what we do is, see, it's got those double stars. We have an input event star const star. If I add a star here, we end up with just the input event. Funky, really funky. If not event, return. Now this one's really noisy. When I tried to log out, every time process event got called, it's like every frame or something. So now we can say auto button event equals event as button event. And now we should be able to get all the events, the button events. If button events, I think this will work. Otherwise, we have to check the event dot event type or get event type against the re-input event type. We could say if the event input type equals button one, Then we'll get the button event, and we should know that it exists because it's a button one. And then we can say, let's get the code. Auto DX scan code. If you are a Papyrus coder and you've ever worked with keyboard shortcuts, you know that these are the kind of integers that represent the keyboard keys that we use in Skyrim, and they're the same. So auto equals event button event dot get ID code. I'm going to say logger info rest key DX scan code. Ooh. Oh, Nelly. Oh, Nelly. There's that one. Just wanted to have this one here for you. Let's see if it compiles and let's see if it works. All right, let's go to the game. See if stuff crashes. Doesn't crash. It'll crash from the very beginning if it crashes because menu stuff and input things happen right away. Let's find out. It didn't load properly. I think it could be because the input device isn't available until we confirm. Okay, come along with me on a little journey of why we needed to, how we fix input device manager, and it'll get you to singletons, whether you want to be there or not. Which will get those folks who are saying, shame on me, off my back. Okay, so if I try and run this game right now, it's going to say it's angry. That's basically because running this code failed. And it failed because I'm trying to call add event sync on the singleton of input device manager. But input device manager isn't actually ready at the beginning of the game. All these other folks are ready. And so what we need to do is we need to say, based on what we've done in other episodes with the messaging interface, we have to wait until the input is loaded. That's actually an available event, a message. It happens right before the main menu. And so this will allow us to have the input device ready. But because of the way that we're doing this, we don't have access to the event sync. Now I'm doing this using a Lambda, which you've never seen before. This could just as easily be done like so. Here's what we've done in all of the other episodes on message. We can make a function that supports on message. I'll do that right now. Void on message takes an SKSE messaging interface, message pointer, message. No reason to call it not message. And we say if the message type is the SKSE messaging interface K input loaded, then we can load this thing up, right? So then what we'll do is we'll say this. We'll say take our event sync. Well, shit, the event sync's not here. Okay, do we make a new one? We could. I guess we could make a new one. But I kind of want there to just be one instance of this event sync thingy. And so one of the things I could do is out here in the world, I can make a variable outside of these functions that is a pointer to an event sync. And then instead of defining the event sync here, I'll define it out there. And that should work. See if it compiles. Compiles. That should work. So now everybody has a reference to this event sync. At the very beginning of the game loading, we make an event sync. And we stick it out here. That's fine-ish. The way that you normally do this, let's get rid of that and make everything not compile. 7. Nothing compiles, is you would want to sometimes be able to say, hey, I want there to only ever be 1 hour event sync, and I'd like to, throughout my code, be able to get a reference to it. And we call those singletons. And if you want to do it properly, this is the code for it. You make a static function called getSingleton, which returns an hour event sync pointer. You can also make it return a reference, but I won't go there. And there's one static instance of our event sync. This stuff. You say there's a private, not public, constructor and a copy constructor and a different copy constructor, and these ones are like right-hand side constructor thingies, and you delete them. These things all make sure that nobody's allowed to make a second version of this ever, which maybe isn't necessarily necessary, but this is a snippet that is worth you using whenever you want one instance of one of your classes ever. Because then here I can say our event sync get singleton. Bam. That should work. It's angry. And down here I'm going to go ahead and say auto event sync equals get singleton. Let's compile. Oh, it's what's up with the red underlines. Let's see if compilation fixes it. Yeah, compilation fixes it. Cool. So up here in this function, over there in that part of the code, when they want a pointer to one of the event syncs, they can have it. When these folks down here want a pointer to an event sync, they can have it. And the input device only is set up on input loaded. So let's go ahead and take a look-see, and then we're done skis. We got to put this on a website, you guys. We got to document all this stuff. It needs to not be in a video, right? Video format isn't great. So there's the menus. Spinners, all kinds of stuff. Those are actually menus. The cursor itself, the main menu is about to show up. Watch for it. Come on. The main menu already opened. If I, apparently my mouse key, mouse, right mouse, left mouse, right mouse, left mouse. If I do the down, up, left, right, the tilde key, Q is actually 16, and enter is 28. So there we go. And all of those different types of events should work for you. I'll take the code that we just wrote and I'll at least put it somewhere. Maybe, because the current game event sample that I have is much simpler. It just shows how to do like an activation event and one other type of event, and it doesn't walk through all those different event sources. So you need to learn the sources. Really just search through CommonLib for sources, and when you find a source, you should be able to figure out how to get a sync that you can hook up for those sources. I can also show you how to set up callbacks with syncs and stuff. If you run into problems with these things, check out our Discord server. We've got more and more C++ developers who are showing up there helping one another make SKSE plugins. And so, until the next time, happy modding. Happy modding, everyone.